Oh my gosh. This is literally the same mic I have used every time. I think it's working now. I hope it's working now. All right, y'all. Hopefully my sound is working now. I'm waiting to see. There's a delay on my end, so I just have to see before I continue. And I still don't know. I'm going to assume because it looks like sound is working on my end that the sound is in fact getting to you. If for some reason you join into this live and you see my lips moving, um, please say so in the chat. All right, so I am actually prepared today. I hope you guys have had a good Wednesday. Mine has been busy, but I did get some stuff done that I needed to get done, so I'm very excited about that. Hopefully, excuse me. Hopefully, I will get some good news tomorrow regarding some personal things. But anyway, we are going to look forward to that. I'm going to put a reminder on Instagram real quick, and then we'll jump right into what we are sewing tonight, which is, whoops, which is the Closet Core. Okay, you know what? It's better with this camera. The Closet Core tee. This is a free pattern from Closet Core. You do have to subscribe to their newsletter, but that's no problem. You can always unsubscribe if it annoys you, but they actually don't send a lot. And there are two views. There's view A, the top view, there's short sleeve and a crop length with the little pocket, which you could omit or keep. And then view B, which is the sort of 3/4 sleeve. I don't think it's quite long sleeve. And then it has the hip length t-shirt also with the pocket. So you have some options here. I am going to be sewing view A, the short sleeve with the crop top and the pocket, just like this. So I've sewn this pattern before. It comes out really cute, so I am excited about it. Let me level this camera out a little bit for you. All right, so I'm excited about that. It's a quick pattern. It's a free pattern. Like I said on a previous live, one of my goals is to like bring people more free patterns, because with free patterns, yes, they're free. I think they're very good for beginners, because like then if you don't like it, you didn't waste a lot of you didn't waste any money. You might have wasted some fabric, but all free patterns aren't really designed to the same caliper, and Closet Core is a long-standing independent pattern company that many people have used. They do pattern testing, and they really vet out their patterns. Their instructions are clear, so this is a real quality free pattern. Sometimes you get what you pay for, and if you paid nothing, you can't be mad, right? This one is a good pattern. I've made it before. If you're into a crop tee, is great. If you don't want to do the crop, even though I titled the YouTube this, you can definitely do the hip length version. I've never made that one, but I'm sure it's equally as cute on. This I am making out of this French terry that I got from JoJo's when they were going out of business. I have already made a 2-piece set out of this. And you've probably seen it on the blog with like the Casey sweatshirt, which was also a free sweatshirt by So Much Ado. I have a YouTube video on that, but not a live. And then I also did the Winnie pants made from mermaids for, sorry, I just want to get that light out the shot. I did the Winnie pants from Made for Mermaid for the bottom for that. So that was a really cute sweatsuit, and it's a lightweight French terry. So I actually have been wearing that on these warmer days that we've been having here in the South. But yeah, it's just French terry. You can see it's sort of thin. You can sort of see through it there, and it has the French loops on the back, as you would expect. So it's just really cute. And I had enough fabric left over. I think I had 4 yards. The Casey sweatshirt took about 1.5 yards. The pants took about 2 yards. So I sort of had like a remnant odd shaped piece left, but it was enough space to cut out because the core tee. Am I holding it the right way? Yes. This is the back piece. Now I am cutting the larger size, the 14 through 32, which is drafted for a D bust. And so with it, I have, it has darts. So this is the top, and I have my guidelines here for, I'll put it on this camera. I have my guidelines here, my chalk line there for where the patch pocket would go. And then over here, I also have my chalk markings for the darts because of the D cup. This does have a dart. So you have the back piece, you have the front piece. You simply then have the 2 sleeve pieces. We will be sewing these in flat in a moment. And then we have on the table back there, because I didn't want to get them mixed up, I have the neckband, and then I also have the neck cover stay thing, which I'm not sure if I'm gonna sew or not. We'll see when we get there, but let's go ahead and start sewing. I do need to make my little quick thing for Instagram. Hold on, guys. Hopefully some more people will join in. All right, let's put this to the stories. Oh crap, I did not actually write a text. That's not good. Instagram. Add a story. Okay, I actually have to type something. That was the problem. Join me sewing live now. We're gonna push this out. In my classic red, of course, as y'all know I love red, so let's change the text to red. We got that. Join me now. You know what? Let me do it in the poster font. I like that font better. Poster. Join me live. And then I need to put the link, which is just going to be youtube.com/@tipstitched, and I'm gonna say watch here, exclamation points. Done. All right, so hopefully this will get some people over here. I would add music, but that'll be a whole thing. So here we go, and send. Let's see if that gets anybody over. All right, so without further ado, let's start working on this. Anytime that I'm sewing a pattern, I like to start with, I like to start with darts. So let's go ahead and do darts. Let's also get some music going in the background, because this is boring just hearing me talk. gosh, you gotta get Square on to sign in. Let's do that. They ask you all this stuff like you cannot say aloud. You have to say aloud, otherwise they're not gonna let you use it. So that's the problem. All right, we're gonna get some music going here, and like I said, we are going to start with, you know what? Let's do Jill Scott. Why not?
Support for NPR music comes from Levi's. Behind the moments that
NPR.
matter.
This is the Tiny Desk.
What's yours? Live in Levi.
Okay, catch up. Alright, if the music's too loud or anything like that, y'all let me know. So we're about to get started. The first thing that we need to do is pin out these darts because, like I said, darts are just always the first thing that I do. So we're just going to go ahead and pin out... Ooh, that's a little too loud. Okay, here, how I do darts typically is I make a notch at the end legs of the darts, and I just sort of put that together. And then take a pin and go right in. And then I find like the end of the dart where I traced it, and I put a pin there. And then this is a short dart, so I'll probably just put one in the middle here. So when I stab it in the front right there on the gray line, I just sort of flip it around to see if I'm still on the gray line, and I'm not exactly. So I'm going to shift it a little bit so that I'm going through the leg of the dart on both sides. And there is a dart on both sides. So we got one dart. I'm going to flip it around and get the other dart. Same thing. I'm going to take the two legs. Ooh, those are really big notches. I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so it'll be fine. But so I match those notches together. Towards the end of the garment, I do that pin. I find sort of where the two lines meet. It might be a little hard to see on camera, but I can see it. And I pin right there. And then I pin, like I said, at least one more in between. If everything's folded correctly, which would be better if I was flat on a table. But aha, I went straight through on the other side. All right, so then we have those two pinned. We're gonna do that. Now, I was bragging because I got everything done before I went live today, except for the whole sound issue that I was having. But one thing I didn't do was change the thread here in my sewing machine. I did change it on my serger because that's the more difficult one to do. And so I caught myself doing that good and ahead of time. But I didn't do it here. That's fine though, because I already have... Alright, Jill. I already have a red thread out, and the bobbin at least has some red thread on it. We'll see if it makes it through the whole project. But here we go, red thread. It could be a little bit more muted, but that's fine. I have another red, but I don't know which one. Only because there's going to be a little bit of top stitching. I'm actually going to use this one. Yeah, I think that for top stitching is gonna, well, one's actually a little too light and one's too dark. I think I'd rather go too dark. I know most people say go too light, but whatever. All right, so we're just gonna pop this on. We're gonna pop the bobbin thread in. I already have a knit needle in here, so I don't need to swap out my needle. It just made that dress that I made last week, so it shouldn't be dull. Yeah. Am I the only person who pops this thing out and then always loses it that fast? All right, pop that back in. Now thread the needle, which on this machine, because I didn't break the automatic threader like on all my other machines, I can actually do pretty quickly. Even though honestly I don't often use the automatic threader, but we're gonna do it today. Oh, see, now look at it showing out because I said I could do it on this machine. I think I'm holding it too taut. There we go. There we go. So we got that in. And we are simply going to sew these darts. If you guys are watching in with me, please just say, hey, I'm here. Because it's hard to see. All right. So we're just going to start at the outside edge of the fabric, making sure those two notches are lined up. And then we're just going to sew this dart. You're not going to back stitch. You're simply going to sew from the notch. I'm using just a straight stitch with, I don't know, about 3.5 inch millimeter stitches. Oh, hitting the wrong pedal. I got too many machines down here. All right, there we go. You just want to sew on that line that you made with your chalk or your marker. And you're just going to sew right off the edge. See, I just sew right off, and then you can lift the foot, pull a little bit more, and so that way you don't have to worry about having like a bubble at your notch. And then you're just going to separate these two strings and tie it off in a knot. I make 2 little knots really quickly. 1, 2. If you're a person who clips at you go, which I go back and forth on it, you can go ahead and clip that now. And then, so now we have 1 dart. I don't love darts on t-shirts, but now that my boobies are bigger than they used to be, it's necessary. Now we're just going to do the same thing for the other dart. And the reason why you don't have to back stitch at the beginning is because you're just going to sew the side seams together at some point anyway. So same thing, you're just going to sew right off, lift the foot, pull a little extra, and then we can tie your little knot again. Oops. My nails usually help with this, but today they're not. There we go. Pull those, and then, uh-oh, I think I pulled a little bit too hard. All right. You can just snip that off. A little more. There we go. All right, so now we're good to go. Now the next thing we can do is put the pocket on. And I'll be honest with you guys, sometimes I hate sewing on pockets. It's mostly because you got to get a good nice press on the fold under edges of the pocket, and then you need to do a good job of lining it up. Okay, I see you now, Melody. Were you able to cut out the pattern? Are you joining me with the actual sewing today, or are you just tuning in and watching? I was really concerned because I was having an issue with the sound before, and there is a little bit of delay in the chat, and I'm also using an external streaming device, so it all adds up as a delay. But I just now saw at least your first comment. I know that you're here. Let me grab that pocket. I'm still working on getting a longer cord so I can move this around, but I also want to do less moving if I can, because I don't want to make you guys like seasick. But I do need to give this a good press. So while I'm waiting to see, Melody, if you are sewing with me, I'm going to turn on my iron because, by the way, this is a McCall's pattern. This is McCall's, it's the Brandy Jones pattern, I can't remember the name. The sweatshirt and the pants. I don't love the pants. I've made them twice, and both times they're a little weird. It might just be me, and I don't know what adjustments to make. And the crop top is cute, but it's very cropped. Which, I don't know, I'm making a crop tee tonight, so it's not that I don't like cropped. Anyway, it's an okay pattern, but not my favorite. So here I made 2 pocket cutouts because one pocket I did is the pattern calls for, which is, has the pointed bottom. You know, that cute, like, back of your jeans kind of pocket, right? With the little point, which I like, but is a little bit more annoying to press. And then I just cut out a regular square as well. So we either have the square or the little chevron. I'm going to try to do the chevron first. Now, what I've seen that a lot of people do that makes sense is they make a template of the pocket cutout from the pattern in like a cardstock, so that it's heavy enough that it's, you know, it's firm, and they put it on the pocket piece minus the seam allowance, and then you can fold over and press on the cardstock because it's heavy enough to sort of work like as a template, and the cardstock won't like burn. Because what you need to do, I'll show you on this camera, what you need to do is fold this over, this edge over, then you need to fold the bottom edge over and the other bottom edge over, you know, still keeping that point, blah 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 blah. And sometimes that can be a little bit tricky for me anyway, because I don't know, I just guess I'm not good at folding over a straight edge all the time. I'm just checking the patterns. I always print my PDF patterns out like this. I'll put on this camera. I always print my PDF patterns, the instructions out like this, because it works for me. So it's just booklet form if you're printing from like Adobe or something, and that way I use less paper than printing out the whole thing. I don't always have or want to have like my laptop or my phone with me when I'm sewing, so I do print the paper, the pattern, the instructions. I know that I could just probably look at it digitally and save some paper and some trees and some ink, but for me it's just easier this way. I also would have to store so many patterns on my computer at one time. Usually I just back them up somewhere. So I'm going to look for what the seam allowance is on this pocket just to make sure that I am correct. I think it's 1/2 inch. Okay, we did step 1 according to them, which was sew the dart, which we knew. Prepare the pocket piece, which is optional. You fold over the top edge 3/4 of an inch, and you top stitch that down. That's fine. And then you press the remaining edges under by 3/8 of an inch. And then you pin it to the shirt. So let's hope for the best here. I'm going to move over to my cutting table for just a minute to make sure I do the pressing. I'm making the grain. Oh, same thing. Same thing. Didn't care for the darts. This is my first time making the one with the darts. The previous time I cut a 20 in the 10 to the whatever, the smaller size. I cut a size 20, and that fits me well, but again, my body's changing. Perimenopause, and it does tug a little, so I wanted to see if this would work with the closet core, doing the larger size for the size D bust. I don't love darts, but since this was a solid and not like a stripe, my previous one was a stripe, I said I would try it. We'll see how I like it, because I might be with you. I might need to try the grain line one next time if this don't work out. But I just want to press this pocket under really quickly. Does the grain line one have a pocket? I can't remember. Because I think I have it downloaded. I've just never sewn it. I made the notch for the top fold over, so I'm just giving this a good press. I think you can see me. A good press for the top. And then it's the folding over the 3/8 that usually sort of does me in. But we're gonna try. Again, if I would ever do what I said I'm gonna do and make that cardboard template, that would also work. But we are just gonna hit it with some pretty high heat and see if this will do it. It's really just that point at the bottom that be killing me. Alright, so I got one side pressed. Going to press the other side. I find the side slightly easier to start with, and then we'll go to the little V at the bottom. I'm really trying to figure out how to do a 2-camera setup. I'm techie, but I'm not that techie. I mean, right now I have a 2-camera setup, but one of them is simply my computer webcam, so I can't do a lot of movement with that. I think I need a USB-C hub. Because because I only have 2 USB-C ports as it is. As long as these are, I have to keep my laptop plugged in so it doesn't go dead. And then if I add my action cam, which is the one pointed at the sewing machine, that takes up the other slot. So if I did want to have another, if I did want to have another view, I would need another USB-C, and I don't know where that would go. So I think I need a hub. Or a dock, I guess, is what that would be. I'm trying to turn over all these little edges. I'm trying to stay consistently at 3/8 over here. So hold on with me. Alright, I'm just flipping it over here where I can see it to see if, you know what, I think this is good. Now we're going to go to pinning. So, you can hopefully see now that no pocket on the hemlock tee. Well, you could always just add one, that's easier. It has more room in the sleeves. Ooh, okay. I have large biceps too, so I felt like when I made this before it fit just fine, but child, don't get me to lying. Anyway, yeah, so you can see here, this is the 3/4 of an inch folded over for the top. I'm going to top stitch that down like the instructions say. And then I pressed everything else over the 3/8 of an inch. So hopefully I can make a nice pretty stitch here. So, now I keep trying to move this because it feels off center, but it's not. All right, we are going to just top stitch this down, which is why I went with the darker red, because I think this is going to look better. Yeah, I'll do it at 5/8 and it'll be fine. All right, so line it up here with my 5/8 line on my sewing machine guide, and we're just gonna go. So that is top stitch down, and then with everything folded over, we are going to, now this may be, let me put the sewing machine back. If we pick up the front piece, and we know this is the front because as me and Melody have been talking about, this is the dart. So I also transferred I would actually rather have the pocket on the other side, but anyway, this is the line, I hope you can see it, I think you can, for where the pocket should go. I didn't do the little point at the bottom. All right, so this corner up here, I'm just going to put a pin through the pocket, and then I'm going to take this pin and push it through the top of here, right there. For right now, we're just going to let that sort of stay. I'll true everything up. Oh, come out of there. We'll true everything up a little bit later to make sure that it's lined up right. I'm just sort of getting that to hold right now. Then we're going to take this other corner, put another pin through, and then put that pin through the top of the, take this and push it through the top on this line over here. So here, poke myself in the finger a little bit. There we go. All right, so now from the front sort of looks like this. I'm gonna smooth this out a little bit and make sure I put that pressed edge under that I pressed. Pin it. Now you don't have to follow the guide that you put on the back exactly. It just, will show you where to put it so that it's completely level and all of that. But it's really like as long as it's close enough, you're good. I very rarely get them to line up 100% of the way, but let's see how close we can get it. Here we go. So now we have those two corners pinned. I'm going to pin the bottom, which we got to fold, both of these under. And then you just sort of want to see where that should line up on the back side. You can make these markings on the front, which would of course be easier. I am always worried that the chalk or whatever won't come off, so I don't typically do that. But you certainly, oh, and I'm way off. Yeah, but you certainly can. All right, that's closer. I just sort of do this like, yep. Just sort of point and check. Which might not be the most efficient way. All right, so now that that's down, I can pin this, so to keep that. And now we're gonna do this other bottom corner, making sure that you have everything folded over like you need it to be. And then blind stab, let's see how close we are. Oh, we're not that off. We can pull that back out and get right in here ish. Yeah, there we go. And then I'm going to keep that folded under. This is so much easier on a flat surface. All right, there we go. And I'm gonna turn this pin around because this is the way that I'm gonna sew it on the machine. I'm gonna go down and then across. So now that that's good, I just need to fold over this part before folding under that part. Try to keep that point crisp. I'm gonna pin right there. And I usually don't put this many pins for like regular seams. For something like this that I got a top stitch, we are gonna pin the heck out of it. A pin there. I'm gonna put another pin here. And I'm actually gonna shift this pin to go straight in the corner. And then I will pin this way. And we'll hopefully make, nope, pin it this way. So we're gonna go, yeah, no, this way. Because this is how I'm going to move around the pocket while I'm sewing. All right, so I'm gonna pull this machine back up. So hopefully it's still centered. All right, Melody, are you sort of with me, or we're just having a fun little girls' night sewing together? Because a basic tee, I'm sure you already know how to sew. So it's not like you need this step-by-step direction, but in case anybody watching it back later. All right, so now you just want to make sure that everything's still sort of folded under. I wish I could zoom on this camera. You still want to make sure you have everything folded under so none of those edges are coming out. I'm going to move my needle over closer to the edge because I want a pretty narrow test my machine there. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can do this. If you want to be really cute, you can do the type of top stitching, I'll find it in this booklet, the type of top stitching that gives you that cute little sort of triangle at the top of your pocket. I'm not going to do that because it always annoys me to, on at least a knit fabric. On a woven fabric, it's just fine. Hold on. Actually, it doesn't show you here. It just shows you how to make to sort of go up and down, but some people do this in a cute little triangle design. I'm just going to simply backstitch very carefully, like not a lot, to make sure that it's really secure. So I'm just going to do a couple of stitches and a couple of stitches back, and that should be enough to hold it. Now we're going to go down. Now you don't want to stretch this because you'll get really wobbly even though it's a knit. You just sort of want to keep it stable. And then I'm going to place my needle down so that I can turn the whole thing, put it back down, keeping a similar seam allowance on this bottom edge, trying not to really stretch it so you don't get a wonky seam, but I really want to keep this point. All right, then you're going to put the needle down right at the center of that point and swivel, which I could have went one more stitch, but I think this is going to be fine. Go to this next corner very carefully. Hand turn the wheel for that last, and then turn. Oops, that's the wrong one. Put that back. All right, remove this one. Put your foot back down. All right, now take that one out. Again, trying to make sure you're tucking that under. You can always just clip it afterwards, but I was just trying to tuck it under so it doesn't poke out. And I'm just do a few back stitches here too to make sure it's secure, but I don't want it to get like a nested ball there. So now here we have the pockets. Oh, I just realized what I forgot to do, y'all. I'm so mad. We're gonna go back and add it. Hold please. I always had intentions, I'm cutting off these loose threads. I always had the intention to sew one of my little tip stitch tags into the pocket because I think that's cute. Let me show you what I mean. I have these little bitty tip stitch mini labels that I think are very cute. And what I want to do and what I meant to do, and we're gonna unpick it and do it again, that's how serious I am about it, is I want to put this like sort of right there. Like, so here you have the pocket and I want it to just sort of like pop out from the pocket. Now, what I really should have done when I had these printed and I did not think about it is I should have turned one of the tip stitch little dresses upside down, because what also would have been cute was to put it on top of the pocket like this and then stitch it down. Whenever I reorder these, it's going to be a while because I have a bunch of these. Whenever I do reorder these, I'm going to keep the one way so I can do it down here if I want, and then I'm going to flip the other one. So basically I'm just going to have them both going up because I think that it would be really cute to also have put it like here at the top of the pocket. But we are going to unstitch which side? I guess the outside makes more sense. I'm trying to think if you were wearing it. Would it make more sense to be on the outside or the inside? I think I'm gonna do it on the, actually, I think I'm gonna do it, maybe put it, what, I don't know. I could either, can we see this? No. I either want to put it here, like out the side, but then that's gonna make it go sideways, or like down here. So I think down here makes more sense. It's just, do I want it to be more to the center? Do I want to do it more this way? It's not that deep, Tiffany. I think on this side. So we're just going to unpick a little bit. And I'm going to stick it in there and just top stitch it. Hopefully I can do this in a way that's somewhat neat. Yeah, I do too, because you never know, something that you do the way that you were taught or the way that you did it the first time might be great, but then there might be another way to do something. I'm continuously learning something from other makers. Someone showed a different way to trace a dart that I thought about today, because this pattern, like you said, has a dart on it, and I was like, I don't know why I didn't always cut my patterns out this way. This is much easier than the way that I used to transfer that marking. All right, what did I do with that little tag already? All right, so see how I just took out about 5 or 6 stitches, enough to stick this in here? Yep. Because I don't want to have to worry about anything bunching or being crazy. So I'm just literally going to just sort of stuff this inside the pocket. Like that. And so that'll be like that. I'm just gonna stitch it back in there. Now the tricky part about this is getting the stitch lined right back up so you can't tell that I unpicked it and repicked it, but we are going to try. And I can do that by turning the hand wheel and trying to line it up precisely. Now I'm just gonna do like 1 or 2 back stitches, like not a lot. So across, keeping along that same path. Do the same thing now. Fingers crossed, when we pull this out, you can't even really tell that I made that boo-boo. And yeah, aside from these loose threads, I think I did a pretty good job. What do you think? I'm getting in there really close, really close. And you can't really tell that I unstitched. You can a little bit on this side. But another sewing friend of mine many years ago told me about the 3 foot rule, which is that if you can't see it from 3 feet away, it didn't happen. Okay, and why are you so close to me anyway? You see what I'm saying? So you ain't gonna know that I did that. What about the bottom and slide it all the way to the end? Oh, that would have made sense. You know what, Melody? See, as we were just talking about learning from other people, I like that. I know what you're saying. You're saying, what if I had taken, because all these edges are finished, what if I had taken it and butted it up all the way on the bottom like that, and then I could have just stitched it to the pocket? That actually will be easier in the future too, because then I can sew it to the pocket before I sew the pocket to the shirt, and then I will never forget again to add it like I just did. I usually forget to do this. I don't do it that often, but I don't sew a lot of stuff to these kind of pockets. But as you can tell, and this is not all of them, I have a bunch of these little things. I thought I would make jeans and I would put them in the jean pocket like that too. Oh, this is my full size one. That needs to come out. But yeah. So yeah, I always get my I'm gonna remember to tag it this time. I always get my labels from Dutch Label Shop. They do a great job. Okay, so enough advertising for them because they don't pay me. Is now we have the pocket and we have the darts. Oh, look at that loose thread coming from the inside. Let's get that. Let's get that before I forget. And this is from just the top stitching that we did earlier. All right, so now the pocket is done, which is usually the bane of my existence. So I'm pleased with that. All right, so we got that done. Now we are simply going to attach the front to the back at the shoulders because I plan on sewing in my, I plan on sewing in my sleeves flat. I prefer to sew sleeves in flat when I can. Hi, Mad 14K. Thank you, Melody. But yeah, I like your way. I think I'm gonna try that next time. I plan on making a lot more tops this summer. Y'all let me know, what do you sew the most and what do you sew the least? Because I sew tops the least, and I don't know why. Hold on, I'm trying to set up this goal. How do I do this? Sorry, typing and talking is hard. I forgot what I was saying about the labels. I was gonna tell. Oh, let me know what you sew the most, and let me know what you sew the least. I love making dresses because I honestly love wearing dresses and jumpsuits too, because I like jumpsuits as well. I think why I like sewing those is that they're a complete outfit. So if you make a dress, you can wear it out. You just throw on some shoes, you throw on some jewelry, whatever, you can head out the door. Same thing with the jumpsuit. You throw on the jumpsuit, put on some shoes, get a little bag, run out the door, you're done. When you make coordinates, you have to like match them. So unless you make a matching set like I made this suit, then you have to like put two pieces together. And that's not hard, but I often don't like to do that. I don't know why. I do sew a lot of matching sets. Like I have this set, I have the set that goes with this fabric. So I do matching sets, and I have done a few capsule wardrobes. You can see that on my blog or my Instagram feed. I like to do a nice capsule wardrobe. Like I did one out of a French terry last year that was a beautiful royal blue. I have a little bit of that fabric left. But anyway, if you go to Instagram, you can see it. Or actually, there's a video on it on my YouTube channel. So if you're a YouTuber and you just stay on YouTube, you can see it here. And I made like 3 tops. I made 2 bottoms. I made skirt and sweatpants. And then I made a t-shirt, a tank top, and a hoodie. And so like you can wear all those 5 pieces a bunch of different ways. I did a zebra set that can be styled a whole bunch of ways. So I really like doing that. Like I like making mini capsule wardrobes, but those I plan like ahead of time and then they work with each other. It doesn't necessarily work with everything else in my closet. because I see fabric and I just like it, and so then I just want to make something with it, and I don't have like a color scheme all the time. You know, some people have a palette that they know works well for them and they wear just those colors. My mom is one of those kind of people. There was a period where all she wore was navy blue, white, black, and red, and everything matched everything else, and it was easy breezy cover girl for her. But I just like too much stuff, y'all. I like a lot of stuff. I like colors, I like prints, I like neutrals, I like fabric. So that don't always work for me, but my goal this year is to sew more tops. So I'll probably be making more of these because they take just like a yard of fabric, and I have lots of knit scraps left over from other projects. So yeah, what I'm going to do, sorry I was yapping, is I'm going to take the front and the back right sides together, of course, and I'm going to match them at the shoulder seams, and then we'll do the sleeves in flat, which is how I prefer to do it, and for knits anyway. And wovens I tend to set them in, but I'm just gonna do this, and then we can also do the neckband at this time. Now this pattern calls for, like, I forget what they call it, it's like a collar something. I might do that. I don't remember if I did it last time or not, but I've done it on another, oops, child, look at me matching up the wrong things. See, and this is why, don't put your needles in your mouth. I know I'm doing it. Don't put your needles in your mouth. I messed up the wrong shoulder to the wrong shoulder. All right, so now I'm gonna put like 2 pins in this shoulder, which is the right one this time. And then I'm going to put the other 2 shoulders together. Again, this is always easier on a flat surface. I just can't keep moving my camera back and forth. So I'm sort of just doing it in my lap. All right, so you can tell here that I have the front piece with the darts and the pocket, and then of course this is the back. You can also tell because the front has a single notch and the back has a double notch. So yeah, this is one shoulder. They don't have any notches on the shoulder. This is the other. I'm going to sew both of these. I think their seam allowance is 1/2 inch. Oh, actually, it's 3/8 of an inch. Well, that's important to know. Yeah. Anyway, 3/8. So let's shift this over to the edge of the pressure foot. I also need to remember to move my needle back to the center. There we go. And then I'm just gonna stitch this. You could zigzag. I'm not. And now the other shoulder. Okay, somehow my thread came out. Y'all probably saw that before I did. That makes sense. I tend to sew a lot of different things because well, okay, let me change this. When I first started sewing about 10 years ago, I was so excited about sewing that unless I absolutely loved a pattern like McCall 6886, as I wore nothing but body count dresses back then, I would typically only sew any given pattern one time. Then I started sewing more and more, and I realized that a lot of the stuff that I made, I didn't wear. Now that's for a couple of reasons. One, when I started sewing, I was like a new wife and stepmom, and my life was a little bit different. I also was probably like 50-60 pounds lighter. I went out more. I did, more of that kind of stuff. So I was sewing all kinds of stuff. We also, this is back when most people were working exclusively in the office and that kind of stuff. So I sold a lot of cute stuff, dresses and like work stuff and that kind of stuff. And then COVID happened. I put on weight too. I got older. I wasn't hanging out as much, and so I really enjoyed making some of those pieces, but they're not everyday pieces for me anymore. Something like this, which is a simple t-shirt with some matching jogging pants, is something that I would grab for at this point. Because I can still say I made it. It's a little bit more elevated than like a sweatsuit from Walmart or Amazon or something. So I feel better about it, but it's also not like, I think in the beginning I was sewing for the gram, right? I was sewing the hot patterns, the new patterns, the things that people wanted to see, the things that challenge my skills, which, now I know I can do it, so I don't have to necessarily challenge myself just for the sake of challenge. I'm working more now on sewing an everyday wardrobe that I'm actually going to wear. So now we have the front and back sewed together at the shoulders. I am going to take this over to the serger and serge it. I hope you can see that. Hold on. I gotta keep switching screens. But yeah, so I'm gonna do that. I need to serge that. What I was hesitating about was this, like I said, calls for this. Okay, what do they call it? I don't want to get in trouble for showing their stuff because, people are particular about that. But they call it, it's a back neckline binding. It's a shoulder and back neckline binding. And I think that is nice. It gives a very clean look on a t-shirt. A good quality undershirt for a man is going to have this. I see it a lot in like Hanes t-shirts and what is it, Goodfellow, that my husband used to get from Target before we were blocking them. Yeah, it's nice. It's just not necessary for a basic t-shirt to me. So I'm not going to do it tonight because it's gonna cause me more headache than I really want to have. So I'm going to shift over to my serger, and I'm not going to take the camera with me because it's just a serge. So yes, Mad K. What is your real name? But yes, Mad K14. Mad 14K. I can't even read. Dresses and skirts. I don't do really many skirts either, but dresses, hands down dresses, I absolutely love. And I make just all the time that, and in the summertime that's fine, right? Because in the summertime I live in dresses, sundresses, maxi dresses, wrap dresses. I live in dresses. Like, throw on a dress and some sandals, grab my bag, and I'm out the door. I absolutely love that. That would have been smart, and I should have done that. This is pretty lightweight, and I don't think it's going to be a problem, but the stabilizing of the shoulders is definitely a good thing to do. But yeah, I just don't make a lot of tops. I will make bottoms sometimes. They don't tend to be skirts though. They tend to be shorts and sometimes like pants, especially if they're like pull-on pants like the ones I have now that come together pretty easily. I do like making those. I made the Thea wrap pants by Jessica's Closet. I really like those. And what other pants did I make recently that I thought were great? There was another pair of pants I made recently that I really liked. Oh, the True Value is all your pant, because they're a real easy slip-on pant. I'll probably sew them online one day. But yeah, while y'all are talking about like your favorite patterns and whatever, do you know the number of the Berta pattern? If so, let me know. I'm just curious, as I have. Oh, you said Butterick pattern. I don't have a bunch of Butterick, but I do have some. But now, yeah, I'm very much so. I've made this before. I've made the Winnie pants a bunch of times. I made the Jessie True Bias tee, which is also cute. It has more of a drop shoulder kind of thing, an oversized fit than the core tee does. Oh, I changed my serger thread, but I never like made sure everything tied off correctly, because I always do the tie off method when I'm changing my serger thread. So yep, I just needed to make sure that worked, and it did. So let me get to these shoulder seams. Now I put my smaller pieces over here on this table because I wanted not to mix them up and possibly throw them away. So here is the neckband piece, and I am going to use it to make the neckband. This looks really small, but I cut out what the pattern said. Of course, you want it right sides facing, so I have to switch this around. And then I'm just going to sew this. I'm not going to bother serging this because it's going to get folded over and enclosed, so you're never going to see it. I do want it to be lined up better though. All right, there we go. All right, so this would also be a good time to press, and because my iron is actually still hot from before, I might actually press it. I usually am pretty lazy and just sort of fold it over and press it later, but I might go ahead and press it now. All right, so I'm just gonna put a pin here, matching the seam together. This will be the back, obviously, and then there is a notch at the center front. We are going to line that up, of course. Then, oh, they didn't give us quarter notches. Did I just miss them? I don't think they gave it to us. I'm gonna give this a quick press. Be right back. Just lining all the raw edges together. All right, so now that I've gave this a good press, I have this. I am going to check the pattern to see if I missed a notch on this. I did not. Okay, anyway, the instructions are probably going to tell me to quarter it, which is fine. It's just you could have put those darts up, those notches up there for me. Yeah, they just want you to match it yourself. Anyway, so here we go. Front to back, match the notches, that's pinned. And now we'll mark the quarters with the pin like that. Like so. All right, so now that's quartered. I'm gonna start with the center back because I don't know, it just makes sense to me. We're going to take the seam and match it with the double notch for the back, center back pin. I'm gonna stretch this over to the knots that they give you on the front piece for the quartered, which just seems a bit tight. Like, look at how much gap there is there. I'm gonna ease it in, see what happens, but I feel like this is a bit much. And then stretch this, ease this in. I like to make sure that I press that, finger press that shoulder seam to the back. It's just me. It would matter if you were really doing the collar thing. And then we are going to match, making sure not to get this all twisted up, we're going to match the center notch on the neckband to the center notch of the shirt front. There we go. All right, get unwrapped. Again, much easier to do when I move to my cutting table. I'm trying to keep it on camera, so here we go. Pin that in. And then again, you got to sort of ease this in. Y'all are familiar with that. Ease this neckline in for the band. I'm just using self for the band, self fabric, the fabric that I'm using for the shirt. But if you have rib knit is always great. Finding a matching rib knit is always difficult. This fabric is a, well, for me, this fabric is a French terry from Joann's before they went out of business. I actually bought it during their going out of business sale. I think it's the only fabric I bought during the going out of business sale. Actually, I did not find their prices to be great during that period, which wasn't their fault. It was the liquidator's fault, but whatever. A lot of their fabric has ended up at Ollie's. If you have an Ollie's in your area, they're selling like the whole bolts of whatever the fabric they got for like $19. The one that I went to actually had a lot of bridal fabrics, or like that sequence tulle special occasion Casa fabric that Joann's used to have. So if you do a lot of that kind of stuff, maybe check out an Ollie's if there's one near you. So I don't like how that's laying, so we're gonna repin that. All right, so I've got the neckband pinned around all around. I'm making sure that there's not any obvious like problems. This I think can shift over a little bit more as far as easing in is concerned. Yeah, there we go. I'm also going to go ahead and put the sleeves in flat here. So all you're doing with this is taking one of the sleeves and matching it to your shirt, which you're going to hold open, the front on one side, the back on the other, and just line up your single notch to your single notch and your double notch to your double notch. On knit fabrics, to me, it's easier to sew in a sleeve flat than it is to sew the side seams together and then have to sew the sleeve in, easing it in, set in. Now on a woven, you probably want to do it that way to keep it nice and smooth, but on a knit that stretches and has a little bit of give, I find it easier to do it this way. So I'm just taking one sleeve. I keep getting stuck to the Velcro on my USB-C cable there. All right, move that out the way. You're going to take that sleeve and you're going to match it. There's a notch in the center of most sleeves. Why did I make so many of my notches huge today? Okay, I'm going to pin that center notch to the shoulder seam. You see this big huge notch? What was I doing? I'm going to take this single notch on the curve of the sleeve and match it to the single notch on the curve of the shirt. Now, some people find this a little difficult because you're doing a concave curve to a convex curve, but in a knit is a lot easier than a woven. You just sort of line it up, and then once you put it under your presser foot, you just sort of make it work. I don't know how else to describe it, but yeah, you do that. So, and then just to the side seam, this is the front, just pinning that on, and then we're going to go around and attach it to the back. So on the back there will be a double notch. Again, I don't know why I made my notches so huge today, especially since there's only 3/8 seam allowance. It's crazy. We're going to line that up, the double notches, pin, again sort of ease in these two curves. Just gonna put a pin there, and then line up the side seams. This is going to be the part that goes under your arm. Pin that, and do I need one more? Sure, why not? All right, that's just one sleeve. Now let me do the other one. Again, this is going to be easier for me in my lap, so I'm going to do it this way. Oh, see? Am I the only person who be sewing and then lose pieces? Like, I just had both sleeve pieces. Where could it possibly go? This is the front, back, and the one sleeve. Where is the other sleeve? And also, this thread came from somewhere, but where is my other sleeve? I wouldn't have taken it to the table. It's not on the floor, unless I'm sitting on it. Hold on, let me stand up. Alright. goes there. This you would think is it, but this is my scrap fabric that I was using to test the tension on my serger. So where is this freaking sleeve? I do this all the time, y'all. I don't even, it's not even funny how often. And I didn't pin 2 sleeves. I do this all the time. We're just gonna sew this 1 sleeve and then maybe it'll come to me. That's all I know to tell you. Exactly. Butterick 5147. Let me look that up. I wonder if I have that one. McCall's 4975. Now that does sound familiar. I have a bunch of McCall patterns. Hold on. I'm about to look those up real quick. You said Butterick 5147, did you say? Yes. Oh no, I actually don't have that one. It looks cute though. I love a good Butterick wardrobe. I think it's 6. Oh crap, don't give me a line. There's one of those that I like a lot that has a jumpsuit. And then you said McCall's 49. Y'all are bringing out some goodies. McCall's 49.75. Now I just typed M. Will it get it? Yes. Oh no, I don't have that one, but that's cute. I like the hood. If I'm looking at the right thing, I like this hooded easy fleece and fur jackets. That's cute. Okay. Thankfully I have these knits going the right way. I just don't know where this other sleeve is. Like, how would I put it in the envelope? Anyway, we're just gonna sew this neckline in this collar, and then we just gonna pray that the sleeve pops up. So I'm gonna start with the neckband. I don't know why I'm touching it like this, but I was trying to find the center back. All right, so I have the center back here where the seam is, and that's where I'm going to start. I'm gonna put that right under the presser foot. It's saying 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, which is probably pretty typical for a neckband anyway. I'm gonna put that under there. I will sew my label on the inside, probably still, and I will do that at a later point. So yeah, let's do this. Keeping all 3 layers lined up, giving a little stretch to the band as you're trying to get it lined up with the shirt. Again, making sure that they're staying lined up. Sort of gently stretching it. Yep, there we go, there we go. And you know what I meant to do and I did not do is wear the pants that I've already made out of this fabric, the Winnie pants from Made for Mermaid. Now let me ask this question. I already asked like what you sew the most of, what you sew the least of. Do you sew, especially because you guys named Big 5 patterns, do you sew any indie patterns, or do you stick to, you know, the Big 5, Simplicity, McCall's, Butterick, Berta, Nomi's New, and, well, they took Quick Sew away. What did I miss? I missed something. Get back there, back stitch. Alright, I am going to serge this at the end of the day, but I will go ahead and clip these threads off. The serger will get the rest of them probably. Alright, so that is sewn on. We will sew on the one sleeve that I know where it is, and then I'm going to try to find out where the heck the other sleeve went. Oh! Okay, my bad. I got it. I thought you were saying, I was like, oh, does that mean McCall's? I've never seen it abbreviated like that, but that makes sense. McCall's. Thank you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and sew this sleeve in. And then, y'all, I really have to figure out where the heck this other sleeve went. I don't know how I lose stuff like this. Thank good these notches are less than 3/8 of an inch because they are close. So I'm just making sure that the shoulder seam is going towards the back because that's what I did on the collar piece, the neckband piece. Sorry, not a collar. I'm just going around. Alright, so at least on this one side, you can tell you have the front of a shirt and you have the sleeve, and then we'll sew that side seam down and do the hems and we'll pretty much be done. Like I said, this is a super quick sew, but what I see here, unfortunately, is that I did a bad job. Look at that little pucker. We must fix that. So I'm gonna unstitch that. That's why your seam ripper is your best friend. Doesn't matter how long you've been sewing, you can always need to rip out a seam or two. So I can see right there is where I got carried away. So we're gonna just, now it's a little harder on the French terry to get the thread and not the loop of the French terry fabric, but actually we're gonna come with it. Nope. I might go at it from this side, it's easier. All right. And then now that I have that little opening, yep, I can stitch. All right, so now I'm gonna do a better job, hopefully, of easing that in. Actually, I'm gonna take it a little bit further because see how that's all off aligned? That's why I got off. We're gonna go in and just pull that. All right, so that came out, and then we're gonna line that a little bit better. Pin, and then there we go. So this time I'm actually going to do it from this side so I can see better. Again, I'm lining the needle up right where it is. Back stitch. Give it a little stretch. Keeping it sort of pulled there. Remove that. Keep it flat. I met up with the original back stitch, pull it out, and now, yes, now look at that, nice and smooth, no little picks. And I also did it on the back. The back looks great. That's a little bit, but that when you're wearing it, you're not going to see. So there you go. All right, so that's all good. We're just going to cut some of these little threads. Oh, that one just pulled right out. go. All right, so now you can see. So I know a lot of people really also hate sewing on the neckband. Oh, so I do not have a seam work pattern subscription. I've thought about it several times because a lot of times I really do like their patterns and they seem really size inclusive. But I do not do good with subscription models in general. I mean, I do subscription for TV and stuff like that because you have to, but I don't do good. I used to try to do a subscription box for sewing stuff. Like they would send you a new project every month, but there's so much stuff that I already want to sew and then I'd get behind and I get worried about it. Closet Core has a subscription model as well for their crew patterns, and I was a member their first year, and I actually like a lot of those patterns, but out of the 12 patterns I got, I think I made 2. So if that's your personality, it's great. It just does not work well for me. But I do see a lot of the patterns that Seamwork does, and I really like them. Okay, almost exclusively. Yes, definitely the indie pattern companies will do for a D cup, because there was a period, I feel, where was it Simplicity did a So Amazing fit where they would give you like a slim, a full, and a regular or something, and they would also do like cup sizes, but they do not do that as much anymore, and that's annoying. It didn't used to bother me because I was a B cup and it was fine, but nowadays I concur. All right, so we've got this together. Where is my other sleeve? I thought while I was rambling, I'm like, did I somehow put it in a drawer? No. This is just scrap fabric. Oh, and here's the sleeve. Look at there. All right, we found it. All right, now we're going to go ahead and put the other sleeve in, but I definitely understand about the neckband being the least favorite part. I used to really dislike doing neckbands. You know what's weird is I like doing collars. I sew a lot with knits. I sew some wovens as well. I like a shirt dress. I also like a button. I don't really wear button-down shirts, but I like a shirt dress. So if I do like that, I for some reason I really thought when I was a newer sewer that the whole collar process would be really stressful, and I was sort of worried about it the first time, but I actually sort of enjoy making a collar. I don't love cuffs. I mean, it's sort of the same principle, I guess, but I don't always love cuffs necessarily, but I like a collar. What I, for a long time, I've gotten better about it, hated most was hemming. I think it was mostly because hemming is usually the last thing that you do, and I would be so ready to be done with the project by the time that the hemming came that I would just be annoyed that I still had to hem. Sometimes I will hand stitch a hem. A lot of the times I really try to avoid it, but sometimes I can find like the niceness and the slowness of hand sewing, like blind hand sewing a hem. Now I think my least favorite part of sewing is just cutting out the pattern. Cutting out the pattern and cutting out the fabric, which is why at some point I would really like to try to learn or get invested in projector patterns. Projector cutting, because it seems like that would, especially with any patterns, right? It seems like it would save you the whole step of printing and taping together the pattern and then cutting out the pattern and then, you know, all the things. So, all right, now we're just going to sew this other sleeve on after, thankfully, I found it. Goodness gracious. My thread came out again. At least I caught it first this time. This machine doesn't auto stop with the needle up. I feel like my other machines stop with the needle up, and so I don't ever have to worry about my thread coming loose, but sometimes this machine will stop with the needle down, and then it's like the tension is there and it pulls the thread out. So this only happens to me on this Bernat machine. This Bernat machine I actually won at Atlanta Frock Tales 2 years ago, so 2024, I guess. Yes, 2024. Which I was really excited about. It was hilarious because, and I know you're not supposed to do this, but I would pull my thread back up sometimes. which was hilarious to me because I was running my mouth. If you can't tell, I'm very good at that. I was running my mouth, and they called my ticket number, and for some reason, I think I didn't answer, so they called it a second time, and I finally looked at my ticket, and sure enough, it was my number, and I ran to the front and was like, "Yay, I won!" And Aronica, who hosted it that year, and is hosting it again this year, and hosted it last year, was like, "Oh, here, Tiffany," and she handed me the shopping bag. So I thought I had just won what was in the shopping bag. But come to find out, I had won this machine. Because it was sitting on the floor, obviously not in the bag. So when I saw the bag, I thought I just won what was ever in the bag, which I was more than grateful for. So I just took the bag and started walking away. And they were like, everybody was like, no, no, no. And pointing to the floor, which is where the machine was. And was like, no, you won the machine. And I was like, oh my gosh, really? They were like, yeah. So I actually like this machine. It's a pretty basic machine, but I like it. It does what I need it to do. It was really good timing because shortly thereafter, or maybe right before, my Singer machine that was not really my first machine, but was more of my everyday machine, that my husband bought for me. It was the first one that I had that was actually for me, and I didn't steal from my mom like my very first one. The part of the foot here where the part of, I don't know what this is called, this part back here that the foot attaches to, the part that clips onto the foot broke on my Singer. Again, I've been sewing with it like pretty heavily for 10 years or so, but it broke. And so now you can't attach a foot to it, but that's like the only thing that's wrong with it. But the local sewing machine store that I use here in Atlanta closed, I guess, shortly after COVID. And so now I don't know how to get that fixed. So anyway, I'm saying all that to say, this machine came in very clutch. I now have this one. I still have the very first machine that I took from my mom. My mom somehow got another machine. I have it too. It's also a Burnett. I've never used it though. I just got it recently from her. And then I have a Singer Heavy Duty that I got from a yard sale last year for like $30. It was a great deal. I couldn't pass it up. It also works great. I don't know how heavy duty it is. It works. Alright, so now we got both sleeves on, and we have, where are we? Okay, here we are. We got both sleeves, we got the chest pocket. All we need to do now is sew the side seams, but before I do that, I am going to serge the neck, which is why I wanted to make sure that I got that right before I went on to the serger. I want to serge the neck on. Now they call for a zigzag top stitch to make sure that that doesn't roll out. I'm not sure I'm going to do that. I don't always like the way that looks. If I wasn't as impatient as I am, I would do a straight stitch top stitch, like a triple stitch, because that will stretch and give, but I don't think I feel like doing that. I could always do that later. And I might. Thank you so much for the hearts. Yeah, so let me serge this. I'm just going, or I don't have to yell, I have my mic on. Then see, move over here, I'm going to serge this. I'm not going to move the camera because these are so small, and watching it serge is not necessarily all that entertaining anyway, and it's probably going to be a little loud, so I'm just going to shut up. Sew then serge. A lot of people with knits will just straight serge. I don't know, for some reason I don't trust it. I always sew first. Like, I'm not willing to hand baste, but I feel like sewing it is sort of like the basting it. In case I do make a mistake, it's a lot easier to pull out sewing stitches than it is serger stitches. Alright, that was one sleeve. Now we're going to do another sleeve. lining, I start that at the center back as well. Because I just feel like the center back is the appropriate place to start. Trying to make sure all of these are staying even. There we go. My knife is on, so I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not cutting off something that I need. That it's not getting bunched up under there. Because this French terry likes to curl. I just serged off all the seams that we had just sewn. I usually just sort of tie off this serger tail. What I did there was just pull the needle thread from the looper thread so that I can tie. I think that was 3, but I usually just do a quick double knot right there. A lot of people thread the tails through and stuff like that. I just find that quicker. All right, so here we go. What I am going to do here is this is usually where I do attach my inside tag, which I don't really need on this pattern because I have the other tag on the outside pocket, but I got plenty of tags. So, or labels. So I'm gonna add this label right here on the seam allowance of this seam. I've sewn this so many times that I know the center is the S. So I just line that S up with the center seam there. I did not backstitch. Oops. I did on that end. That'll be enough to hold it for the most part. See how the needle stopped down? Alright, so now that is sewn in. It's not the most even, but again, only I see the label on the inside, and I just like seeing my name in there. So clip off these loose threads. I could just do a quick back stitch right there to sort of keep that in place. Make sure it doesn't come out in the wash or something. And that's enough. All right, so, oops. There we go. So now I've got that in. It just always makes me smile. I just like knowing that it's there. I used to sew before surgery until I learned how. Oh, well, maybe that's what I need to do, Melody. Like, what's the trick for how to remove the stitches? Because me and the serger stitches be going through it. I am not above making a mistake here and or there. So it's bound to happen. Do not put your needles in your mouth. Yes, I know the needle's in my mouth. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm just lining up. Oh, I guess it's not on camera. Sorry. I'm lining up the underarm seam right there where the sleeve and the t-shirt meet, and now I'm just putting together the side. This closet core pattern, if you're sewing it with me, has a notch on the side. Sometimes patterns don't have a notch on the side for something as simple as a t-shirt because it's not that hard to keep everything lined up. But anyway, we are going to go ahead and put a couple of pins on this side. I'll put one more. Now look how I took that one out. I'm gonna put one where that one came out, and then I'm gonna line that up a little bit better. Pin again, and then that's that underarm seam, and then that's the end of the sleeve. And then we're going to do the same thing for the other side, which is match up that underarm seam. I like to press my seam allowances going towards the sleeve because I feel like when you wear it, you put your arm through the sleeve. I don't know, it makes sense to me. And then again, matching up the notches on the side. Again, I do not know why I made my notches so huge today. I guess I was in a rush when I was cutting. Oh, look, y'all, I thought I had cut it wrong. I just did not. This fabric likes to curl, so it curled under. All right, and I'll put one more sort of like right in here. I don't really need it, but it can't hurt to put it right there. So now I have both side seams pinned. I'm going to go ahead and sew them and then serge them. This is going to be the closest to 9 that I finished, even though it's still going to be past 9. I usually start at the hem and then work my way to the sleeve. I have no idea why I do it that way, but I do. Oh, I can increase my stitch length again. The other side. These darts probably should have gone down. That is why you should also press your garments as you sew, which I do a lot less with knits. I do it a lot more with wovens. Right, line all that up. Serger thread, which the knife on the serger would get it if I left it, but why even let that get tangled up? And this dart is going up, so I might unpick that. That dart should be going down. Oops, come on. These are very sharp scissors. I don't know why they're being weird. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead because my scissors were in my hand. I just used my scissors. This is where the terry cloth is, again, makes it difficult because you have to try to get it and not the loop of the terry cloth. All right. All right, and then I can make sure that I sew it so that the dart is going down. Also, that was very crooked, so it needs to be fixed. Right. All right, so now we're at the point where it really looks like a shirt. Sewing is relaxing for me, for sure. It seems like a lot of people sew and they get really frustrated, and that's why I know that this is for me. Just a personal thing about me, I am a person who always really wanted to have a hobby, and oh, thank you. I always wanted a hobby, and I don't know that I tried a lot of things, but I did try some things. My attention span is often really short, so I would like pick up something, you know, like journaling or doing a plan. I do still sort of do a planner, but like, you know, some people decorate their planners with the stickers and the things. I tried that. I bought all kinds of stickers. I did like 1 month and was like, no, this takes too much time. I read. I like to read fiction books, but I didn't always have enough time to do that for some reason. I don't know why sewing seems easier. But anyway, I picked reading back up recently. I really utilize my library. Use your library, people. And I picked back up reading novels recently. I also did a lot of roller skating during COVID because I used to love to roller skate as a child. So I do enjoy doing that. But I didn't really have a hobby. I still want to pick up knitting because I would like a non-sedentary, like a hobby you could do anywhere. So I really want to pick up knitting. I've never tried to knit. I have needles and thread. I mean, and yarn. Haven't actually tried to knit a stitch, a purl or a knit. I ain't done nothing. But anyway, when I knew sewing was for me was when I sold one project. It didn't turn out completely right, and I was still like, oh, you know what, let me try again. And I fiddled around and made a whole lot of bad first couple of projects. And when I finally got to stuff that was wearable, I was super excited. And then I finally got to things that not only were wearable, that I would wear, and I think people actually thought I bought it. Some of those first makes were sort of obvious that I made it, but like elastic pants and stuff like that. Really simple shirts that are just like squares that you manipulate to like a calf. Some of that stuff you could sort of tell I made it. But I finally started making some things. It was a particular Vogue pattern that I made. I think it was 1513, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm Calvin Klein. Like, you can't tell me I'm not. And after that, I have been like addicted to sewing. So yeah, so basically our t-shirt is done. Hold on. Yep. Why am I getting the angle wrong? Basically the t-shirt is done. What I do need to do at this point is serge those side seams that I just did, because I need them serged, and then we are going to do a hem. You are right, Melody. I do not know how I feel about these darts. I thought in a solid that I wouldn't really see it, and it wouldn't bother me, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't love it. I ain't put it on yet, but just looking at it, I'm not. I just see how that, like, I'm blocking my own light. See how that dart is going to the. I don't know how I feel about that. We gonna try it on and see. It's already made, so I'm gonna wear it. But I don't. I'm either gonna have to make, and I know this isn't right. I'm either going to have to continue to make the core in the larger size, in the B, like to try to accommodate. I know that's still probably gonna result in like that. But I might prefer that, sadly, to this. I don't know. I haven't put it on yet. I'm gonna try to. Let me calm down. Let me serge these. I don't think I'm top stitching that neckband, and then we're going to do the hem. Now for hems, I like to serge the raw edge and then fold over whatever the seam allowance is, and then just top stitch over it. There are a lot of different ways, obviously, that you can do hems. I don't even know how they ask you to do it on this. Probably fold under 1/4 of an inch, press, and then fold under. It's probably, yeah, this says fold up 5/8 of an inch, finish with a zigzag double knit or cover stitch. Now, here's the sad thing. Do y'all see this machine over here? You see this? This is the cover stitch. It is a Janome 900 CPX. It's a cover stitch. Do you see how this is on it? Do you see how this machine ain't covered? Do you see how that serger ain't covered because I use them so often? This is covered because I barely use this serger. I mean, the cover stitch. Why am I blanking on her name? Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to look it up. I don't know. I know her personally. Why can't I not think of her name? She uses her cover stitch all the time, and she has tried to help me through using my cover stitch, and I think I just don't use it enough. When I do use it, it seems okay, but I always have a problem with it skipping stitches, and I honestly don't know if it's a me thing or if it's a okay, why am I not finding it? Or if it's a Janome 900 thing. Someone told me that the Janome 1000 is better. So maybe that's the problem. I really don't know. But me and it don't get along. I'm gonna just tell you that. We definitely have a little tussle now and then. And sometimes it works fine, but many times I have skipped stitches or it looks fine originally and then I wear it and then those stitches pop. And so as much as I don't like a zigzag stitch, I am more tempted to do a zigzag stitch. Because I know that's gonna stay. I don't know. I'm gonna find her name and put it in the comments. But anyway, she really helped me. She sews a lot of knits. And I'm just having a brain fart. I'm so mad. Not Shem, not Black, not She's Be Bold, Be Bold. That's her thing. Why can't I not think of her name? Blame the perimenopause. Yeah, I can't find it now. Anyway, yeah. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to serge those side seams. So let me turn this back wrong side out. So I'm going to serge these side seams, and then I am going to serge the raw edges of the sleeves and the hem, because what I'm going to do is serge that off and then... Oh! Melody, that's a good idea. I'll try it. I will try it. Let me do this. Hopefully when I put it on, the darts don't bother me as much, but I don't know, they don't look great as I'm just looking at it. One side seam. Two side seams. Alright, now we're going to do those edges. Because I could just fold over twice, like a double fold, but I don't want to. It doesn't have a lot of seam allowance, like the hem depth isn't that thick, so I'd rather just finish off the raw edge. That's what I'm gonna do, because I don't mind if the raw edge shows. I do have to keep this flat because this French terry wants to roll or curl something terrible. Try to be really careful not to stretch as I'm serging, which is easy to do with the head. Alright, so that's one sleeve. Here's another sewing sleeve, another sewing sleeve, another sleeve. on back over here where you can see me a little bit better. And I stay dropping things. Okay, get it. That's my mouse. All right, so it says a 5/8 of an inch hem for the shirt, which it seems narrow, but okay. And 5/8 for the sleeve too. Anyway, I don't always measure that. I can usually pretty much guesstimate, as I'm sure we all can at this point, if you've been sewing for a while, where 5/8 is, and we're just gonna go with that. I'm gonna need some more pins too. That looks like, I think that looks like a little like 3/4. This looks like 5/8. Let's see. It's very close. There we go. Sorry, my computer's doing something weird. All right. Yeah, so we're just gonna do this around. Actually, I'll go ahead and use it because I'm showing. This isn't really teaching, obviously, but let me try to do things the right way on camera. All right, that's 5/8. Get around over here. 5/8. Pin. A pretty good size hem on this because this is a boxy tee, so this is gonna take a second, but we're just gonna be patient and do it enough that we can keep it even. Here's the other side seam. 5/8. Pin. I'm actually gonna do one in between here because there you go. And then we're gonna go around. Five eighths, close enough. All right. That's enough. And now the sleeves, same thing, 5/8. Fold over. I'm just gonna go ahead and do all of these at the same time. I like to do as much of one step as I can before I do the next step. I know that other people do stuff differently. They do each seam or whatever. Also, I don't, like I said before, press as much when I'm sewing knits because they're malleable and it usually works out okay. Wovens, yes, you need to press. And I'll give this a good press after, but it's I don't necessarily do it during. But like I pinned the hem of this, I also am now gonna pin both sleeves of this. I like to do both of those versus like pinning the hem, sewing it, then pinning the sleeve, sewing it, then pinning the other seam and sewing it, or sleeve and sewing it. I like to do as much of one step together as I can. So like even with the construction of the t-shirt, I started off by sewing the front to back at the shoulders, and then I went ahead and serged the shoulders because there was nothing else to do at that point. And then when it comes time to sew the neckband and the sleeves in flat, I like to do both of those and then take it back to the serger. You could do the neckband serge, sleeves and then serge, or one sleeve serge, the other seam and then serge. I just like doing as many steps that are similar together at the time. So if I'm sewing, I want to sew as many seams as I can sew that don't, where the serging doesn't like not work, because if you sew the shoulders together and then sew the collar on, then you can't go back and serge the shoulders, right? So that's why I have to make that break there. But as much as I don't have to make a break, I don't. I'm going to do all the sewing, I'm going to do all the serging, and then I'm going to do all the whatever. if I'm closing a neckband, I'm closing the sleeve bands. I don't care if we don't get to the sleeves for 5 more steps. As many of the similar steps as I can do at the same time, I'm gonna do. That's just sort of how I address things. I also typically sew these just like simple fold over hems on the wrong side, even though I think for the stitch to be the right side up, you should sew it the other way. But it's just easier for me to see and make sure that I'm catching it this way. And I also know that I could take this arm off, but this is a wide enough sleeve that I don't think it's that big of a deal. So I'm just sort of trying to keep this even. I have it lined up with like the half a inch. What keep happening to my foot? Okay. I have it at the half an inch on the seam guide because this is folded over 5/8 of it, so that should catch it right in the serge part. As long as this is another place where if I pressed it, I would be more sure, but I'm just gonna hold it in place and it should get it just fine. And I ran, oh, don't you hate it? I ran out of bobbin thread. You see? All right, y'all, let's refill the bobbin. I was so close to finishing the whole project without having to do this, y'all. Look, all I got left is 2 sleeve, well, 1.5 sleeve hems in the shirt hem. So at least it came off during the sleeve hem, because if I had gone around this whole shirt and hadn't done it, I'd been really mad. All right, can you see up there? Load that up. That's enough for what I need to do. But yeah, sewing is one of those things that it's just so cool, and I do love the fact that it's amazing to be able to take just a flat piece of fabric and then like make something you can wear, which is why I feel like when you tell people that you sew, it's like so amazing to them, because it really does seem sort of like not truly witchcraft, but like it seems magical. It seems like, how could you do that? Now, my day job is engineering, so I sort of do that in my day job, right? I take 2D plans of things and I turn them into 3D things. So those skills sort of translate in a weird way. Oh, I did not make it that far around either. I don't even think I made it halfway. Darn it, darn it, darn it. All right. I'm not remeasuring that, so we're just going to say this is 5/8 of an inch. Yep, there we go. I was so convinced that I was there. All right, let's see. This is about here. All right, so we're just going to go around. But yeah, so I don't know. Oddly, I sort of have always wanted to sew, because many people ask me like how I start. I'm sure you guys get those questions as well. If you just didn't start, I did not sew as a child. I didn't take home ec, any of that kind of stuff. They didn't make me by the time like I got to that point. My sister did. That is not going to line up. We're going to have to fix that. But I would always see clothes, and then there would be clothes that I would like, but I didn't like something. Like, I love jumpsuits. Like I said, I sew a lot of jumpsuits now, but I couldn't wear them before because my body just wasn't standard proportion size, and I have a high waist, and so if the top fit, the bottom didn't fit, or if the bottom fit, then the top was too short. There was always something wrong, so I just didn't wear them. But once I started sewing, I could make a jumpsuit, custom for me, so that I could wear jumpsuits, and now I love them. Sometimes, you see something in the store and you really love it, but you don't love the color, or I don't know, you love the pattern but not the dress. I don't know. I always sort of thought it would be cool to just think of something and then be able to make it, not have to go to 5 or 6 different stores hoping that you found something somewhat similar. And so once I figured out that, you could just make exactly what you wanted and you envision in your head, as long as you can find the fabric. And nowadays, you can design your own fabric. I don't do that, but you can. You can design your own. You can come up with a design. You can send it off to somebody who will print it on fabric for you. So, there's really almost no limitations now. It's just literally whatever your brain can sort of think up, So that part's cool. I even, for a very short while, was working at sewing my own, or making my own. I am actually going to take this off. Making my own shoes. I made 2 pairs of shoes before I sort of abandoned that hobby. I didn't completely abandon it. It's just even more costly than sewing. There's so many specific supplies you need for it. Anyway, but I did really enjoy that. If you look in my shorts especially, you can see me making a pair of red mules, strappy mules. Because I would love, and here goes this thread again, I would love to be able to make my whole outfit all the way around. If you are on Instagram, you can follow Sew Create by Jamie. She makes the most amazing pumps, sandals, boots, knee-high boots, to custom match her outfits that she sews as well. I mean, it's so inspirational. I will tag her for when this is available for replay. Sew Create by Jamie. It's amazing. So I think it's cool. I didn't used to think I was a creative person, but I actually really enjoy sewing. I enjoy my Cricut. I have a Cricut. I like making things on Cricut. I don't do that as much, admittedly, but I do enjoy. I need a new heat press. That's really the problem. But I enjoy doing that. So yeah, it's just cool to be able to make whatever you think of, and even if that's that one butter egg dress that you make all the time, it don't matter. You like it, it looks good on you, you've perfected the fit, and you can make it in every fabric you want. You want it in the red, make it in red. You want it in black, make it in black. You want it in purple, make it in purple. You want floral, do that. You can do whatever you want, and that's the part that's most exciting to me about sewing. And if you can learn how to make those adjustments that you're going to need for yourself, it's just, I don't know. Even the times that I do stuff and it doesn't turn out right, or it's not nearly as cute as I thought it would be in my head, I still enjoy the process, except for cutting out the pattern. I still don't really like that. Yes, also ready to wear clothes are terrible. I not terrible strong, but sort of yes. So here's the thing that also was a problem for me growing up. My mother was the kind of person who, if you did go shopping for clothes, and I mean we did because she didn't like sew my own clothes, she would inspect things, right? So she would want more quality pieces, and if you had like a floral dress, like when you're thinking ready to wear, right? Ooh, yeah, the Scan and Cut, Cricut, Silhouette, they're together. She would look at things, right? So if you had a dress that was not a floral print, if it's a mass-produced dress, they're just cutting the fabric. If you're doing like couture kind of dresses, they're actually looking at the placement and all that kind of stuff. But if you're talking about ready to wear dresses, they're just cutting that out of the big swath of fabric. And my mother would go through every dress in her size and see which one had the composition that she liked. Like if there was a color in the pattern she liked more, she wanted, the one that had the most of that color or the most of that flower. She also would avoid one that had like, I don't know, a flower right where your nipples would sit, because she'd be like, okay, that's not going to be good. Or, sometimes things are just sort of placed off. She would look for the one where the stripes lined up the best and that kind of stuff. So I've always looked for that in clothing, even before I had the control of sewing it myself and looking at the placement. So all of that sort of clicks to me already, because she's just sort of raised me like that. I also have aunts who sew. My mother says she can sew. I've never seen her do it. But I also have aunts that sew. One does more like home ec stuff. Curtains and cushions, stuff like that. I don't particularly enjoy that kind of sewing, but to each their own. But I have another aunt who was always quite fashionable. Actually, all my aunts are pretty fashionable. But who I'm sure she sewed, but she also just would make things happen. I don't know. Like if she saw it and she liked it and it was the wrong color, she would dye it and make it the color she wanted it to be. She was very much like make it work. Before Tim Gunn, she was gonna make it work. And so I just also always knew that you didn't have to settle. Like if there was something that you wanted, you could make it happen. Now when I was younger, I didn't have the energy to make it happen. I always tell people that my only sewing regret is not starting sooner. I started sewing when I was about 34. I wish I had started sewing at 24. Heck, I wish I started sewing at 14. So anybody who ever is like, oh, I love to learn sew, my advice is always start now. If you can even possibly have the time, start now. If you want to take a class and learn in person, I think that's great, but I'm self-taught. I learn by watching YouTube videos, going to meetups and conferences. I've never truly taken like a sewing class, and I think I do pretty good. Now, some people, they need that hands-on, and if you do, make that happen. Maybe you have a friend that sews. Maybe, there's a sewing class at your local library. I know mine has that sometimes. Maybe you can take a class. Maybe you can try an online class first. But my advice is always just start. Because the only thing I regret as far as sewing is concerned is not sewing sooner. I'm perfectly fine with the machines that I have. I mean, I'd like a nicer machine if anybody wants to sponsor me. But I'm perfectly fine with the machines that I had. I almost immediately bought a serger because I knew that I like sewing with knits. I like wearing knits. I find them comfortable. So I immediately wanted a serger. My husband got me the cover stitch because I had been talking about how those were useful. So even though I don't use it like I should, I still have it because one day me and that thing are going to get along. All right, that looks like the final stitch there. But yeah, that's just always my advice. My thing is, if you want to try something, just try it. It was like during COVID, I sort of fell out with sewing, and not really. It just was, I'm the kind of person who likes to make something and immediately wear it. I don't do good sewing like a season ahead. A lot of people sew, their summer stuff in the winter so that when the temperatures get warm, it's ready to wear. I don't do well at that. If I sew it today, I want to be able to wear it tomorrow. Okay, like tomorrow. I probably won't wear this tomorrow. But I gotta go to work and this wouldn't be appropriate. But I don't like not being able to wear something relatively soon after I make it. So, I never get ahead. Okay. This probably still needs a good press. I guess I could give it a quick one on the hems. And then I'm going to try this on so we can see what it looks like. Melody, I know you're not really interested because you don't like the darts, but we are going to see how why am I looking for my scissors like I didn't just put them up? I'm going to check out this and see how I feel about these darts. Maybe it won't look as odd on as I feel like it looks as I'm just holding it up. Okay. All right. Let me just give it a quick press, and then I'm going to figure out how to get better into camera view. And my iron cooled down a bit, but there's enough heat to do a little something here while it's trying to heat back up. I do love my Oliso iron. You probably can't see from over there, but it has the feet, so when you let go, it raises up, which I absolutely love. Am I in frame? I don't even know if I'm in frame. Let's try again. I'm too far away for you to really see it. But anyway, okay. That's the hem. Let me give a little quick press to these sleeves. And then to this sleeve. The neckband, just to sort of make sure that it lays flat. Darts a little bit. Just let that not be one of the reasons why I don't like the darts. Alright, so here we have the shirt, and I'm gonna try to figure out how to show this better. Give me a second to change into it and switch the mic over. Yeah. Oh, I also had a shirt on under this, so it wouldn't really matter, but okay. Alright, let me get the mic back on. Alright, so I can get a little bit closer to my laptop since I'm not trying to necessarily get a full body look here. But yeah, so this is the shirt. Like I said, it's sort of boxy. The mic is weighted down a little bit. This is a really lightweight French terry. I'm going to try to turn this around in a way that also will... Aha! Learn your angles. Okay, I just tried to do a quick adjustment to the light a little bit. I think that helped. Yes. Let's see. So maybe... It's not big enough for it to sit on. Try it. Okay, hopefully that'll stay. So yeah, it's sort of boxy. It's a looser fit. I sold the 18 of the larger size range, so the size D bust. And yeah, this is what it looks like. I don't know that I hate the darks. Once I have it on, it's not as easy to see, I think, right? They're in there somewhere. So I don't know that now that I have it on, I don't know that I mind it. And I will admit, I wish I had the other one in the room with me. I will admit, I do think this lays better than the previous one that I made. And you can see here that it's not super cropped. It doesn't come all the way down. I could have definitely done a shorter hem for a more cropped, like like my sweatshirt that I had on stops like way up here. So I could definitely like have done an inch hem and had a much deeper. But I think this is going to be fine. The Winnies that I plan on wearing this with are really relaxed. So I feel like that's fine. I wish again that I had the pants in this room as well. I'm not going to waste time by going to fetch them. But yeah, so I feel like this is cute. The main screen picture, this one, is probably more true of the red than the other color, I think. But regardless, this is the shirt. Let's do it in this camera. I do really like how I have the pocket here with the little tag. I do think that's cute. So that's great. And I like the sleeve length. It's, you know, longer than a cap sleeve, but doesn't really come past the elbow. Yeah. Now, I've done this before in a black and white stripe, or was that the Jessie? The True Bias Jessie tee is another free tee pattern that's very similar. It also, I think, comes in a B cup and a D cup melody, but it doesn't have darts. So you might want to check that one out. Might not. That one, I think this pattern has a cropped version. Why is my light so weird? Has the cropped and the hip length with the short sleeves and the long sleeves. The True Bias Jessie may only be cropped, but I do think it has the 2 sleeve lengths. Obviously, you can lengthen a t-shirt really easily. Anyway, I just say check that one out possibly. Seems like you like the grain line, so that one's a good one too. I've never sewn that one. It's on my list. It might be another live sew at some point. Anyway, so yeah, I'm pretty much happy with this. If you go to my previous Sew With Me video, I think is what it's, I don't remember what I call that playlist. I'll link it. You can see the outfit that I made from fabric to fit. It's on that one, from fabric to fit. I'll show how I made the sweatshirt and the pants, but I plan on wearing this tee with the pants when it's warmer, and continue to wear the sweatshirt with it. So that will be a year-round ensemble. Red is obviously one of my favorite colors. As you can see, it's in my logo and all over my page, so I wear it to death. Anyway, I hope you guys had a great time watching me sew. I'm pretty happy that I only went half an hour over today, and that is pretty much exactly the 20 minutes that it took me to get the sound working right, which hopefully when I go back to replay this live, I can edit out. I don't know. If not, apologies. Like fast forward to minute 25 probably, and that's where we actually start. So sorry about that. One of these days, I'm going to get everything right. At least I had the full pattern cut out and my serger already threaded this time. That's been better than before. Okay, you might try the clothes. I mean, I'm not saying you should or should not, but I don't hate the darts now that I'm looking at it on. I didn't like it holding it up. And again, the True Bias Jessie tee, I'm pretty sure has a D in their larger size, and that one does not have darts, I would remember, because that one I did sew in the bigger size. Thank you so much for joining. I'm happy that you guys enjoyed it. My plan is to go live with hopefully relatively simple patterns going forward every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also check out my scripted videos on my page, on my YouTube channel. You can also check me out on Instagram if you have Instagram, where you can see some of the other things that I've made, which I make a lot of stuff. But I feel like if I do this live sew every week, then I'll at least add a garment a week to my wardrobe, which I'm really excited about. And I want to bring more free patterns because, again, I just think that's great to just try them out. There's no harm, no foul. Just wasting some paper and some ink, maybe some fabric. What else did I want to say before I logged off? At some point, I might start doing a little bit more complex patterns and just breaking them up in chunks, like, you know, maybe doing a coat and then doing this and then this later. Same thing, like maybe a dress shirt, do the cuffs and the sleeve. I don't know. Anyway, it's a thought. But right now, for the summer, it's because we're leading into the spring and summer, I'm just all about making easy, breezy stuff. So expect a lot of tops, hopefully, and a lot of dresses, and maybe some jumpsuits. But anyway, yeah, let me look at myself in the mirror real quick to see. Yeah, in the mirror, I don't really mind the darts. They don't come as far in as I thought they did. I like that this is a longer crop length. I love the little pocket. Yeah, I like the length of the sleeves. They're long enough to be there, but not. But I will have to say, this is, though it's still sort of oversized, and it has a little bit of curve out right here, that I do really like the True Bias Jessie. It's much more boxy. You don't have this curve here, and it's more of a drop shoulder, which I usually really dislike, but for some reason on the Jessie, I like it. And I feel like those sleeves might come all the way to your elbow. We'll do that one week. We'll do the grain line one week. There's a French navy tee that's also free I've been meaning to do. There are a lot of free tees out there. I could do a whole series just on free tees. That might happen. But anyway, thank you so much for joining. I hope you had a great time. Again, I'll be back every Wednesday at 7. If you're on Instagram, you can check my Instagram. I'm going to post what I'm going to make there, hopefully ahead of time, so that if you want to sew along with me, you can. Also check just the post part on my YouTube page. Just go to my YouTube channel and you can see my post there. I'll hopefully post there. I don't know what I'm going to sew next week, so I can't tell you now. But I'll pick something and put it up by the weekend, and then hopefully next week y'all can sew with me. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night. I haven't had dinner, so I still need to eat and then go to bed. Thanks, y'all. Bye.